Welcome back to Decentralized Application Development Crashcasts. I'm Sheila, and I'm here with Victor. Before we dive in, we'd love to hear from you. If you're enjoying our podcast, please take a moment to rate us on your favorite podcast platform. It really helps us reach more developers like you.
Absolutely, Sheila. Your feedback means the world to us. Now let's get into today's topic. We're continuing our journey through Chapter 2, Fundamentals of P2P Networks, and we'll be exploring hybrid networks.
That's right, Victor. But before we start, I have a quiz question for our listeners. What popular file-sharing network, launched in 2000, is considered one of the best-known examples of a hybrid P2P network?
Ooh, that's an intriguing question, Sheila. It's definitely related to the early days of P2P file sharing. I'm sure many of our listeners who were around during that time might have a good guess. But let's not spoil it. We'll reveal the answer at the end of the episode.
Excellent, Victor. Now, to set the stage for our discussion on hybrid networks, could you remind our listeners what we've covered so far about P2P network topologies?
Of course, Sheila. We've discussed two main types of P2P networks, unstructured and structured. Unstructured networks are more flexible but can be less efficient for searching, while structured networks use specific algorithms for efficient data location but can be less adaptable. Hybrid networks aim to combine the best of both worlds.
That's a great summary, Victor. So let me try to define hybrid networks based on what we've learned. Are hybrid networks essentially a combination of structured and unstructured elements in a single P2P system?
You're on the right track, Sheila. Hybrid networks do indeed combine elements of both structured and unstructured networks, but they often go a step further by incorporating some centralized components as well. It's like having the best of all worlds: the flexibility of unstructured networks, the efficiency of structured networks, and the reliability of centralized systems.
That's fascinating. It reminds me of a well-organized party. You have some structured activities planned, but also allow for spontaneous interactions, all while having a host to keep things running smoothly. Is that a fair analogy?
That's an excellent analogy, Sheila. In this party scenario, the host represents the centralized component, providing some level of coordination. The structured activities are like the efficient lookup mechanisms of structured networks, while the spontaneous interactions represent the flexibility of unstructured networks.
I see. So, what are some key characteristics that define hybrid networks?
Great question. Hybrid networks typically have a few defining characteristics. Point 1. They use a combination of peer-to-peer and client-server architectures. 2. Some nodes, often called supernodes or ultra-peers, have more responsibilities than others. 3. They aim to balance load distribution and search efficiency. 4. They're often more scalable and robust than pure P2P systems.
That's interesting, Victor. I'm curious about these supernodes. How do they function within the network?
Supernodes act as mini-servers within the P2P network, Sheila. They're usually nodes with more resources, better hardware, faster internet connections, and so on. They index content from regular nodes and handle search queries, making the overall network more efficient.
I can see how that would be beneficial, but doesn't having supernodes introduce some level of centralization? Isn't that against the principle of P2P networks?
That's a great observation, Sheila. You've touched on one of the common misconceptions about P2P networks. While it's true that P2P systems aim for decentralization, the goal is to create an efficient and robust network, not necessarily to eliminate all forms of hierarchy.
I see. So it's about finding the right balance between decentralization and efficiency.
Exactly. Hybrid networks try to strike that balance. They maintain most of the benefits of decentralization while addressing some of the challenges, like search efficiency and network stability.
That makes sense. Can you give us an example of a real-world implementation of a hybrid network?
Certainly. One of the most well-known examples is the Skype network, at least in its original design. Skype used a hybrid approach where some nodes with more resources and stable connections acted as supernodes to facilitate communication between regular nodes, especially those behind firewalls or NATs. That's network address translation, a method for giving devices on a local network a shared public IP address.
That's fascinating. I never knew Skype worked that way. Are there any potential drawbacks or challenges with hybrid networks that developers should be aware of?
Absolutely, Sheila. While hybrid networks offer many advantages, they also come with challenges. 1. The system can become overly reliant on supernodes, potentially creating bottlenecks. 2. There's increased complexity in network design and maintenance. 3. Security can be more challenging, as supernodes might become targets for attacks. 4. There's a need for incentive mechanisms to encourage nodes to take on supernode roles.
Those are important considerations. Do you have any tips for developers looking to implement a hybrid network?
Great question. Here are a few best practices. 1. Carefully design your supernode selection criteria to ensure reliability. 2. Implement failover mechanisms to handle supernode failures. 3. Use encryption and authentication to secure communication, especially with supernodes. 4. Consider implementing a reputation system to identify reliable nodes. 5. Regularly reassess and optimize your network topology based on performance metrics.
Those are excellent tips, Victor. Now, before we wrap up, I think it's time to reveal the answer to our quiz question. What was that popular file-sharing network we mentioned earlier?
Ah yes, the quiz. The network we were referring to is Napster. While it was eventually shut down due to legal issues, Napster's hybrid architecture, which used central servers for indexing and P2P for file transfer, was groundbreaking at the time and influenced many future P2P systems.
Thank you, Victor. To summarize what we've learned today, 1. Hybrid networks combine elements of structured and unstructured P2P networks, often with some centralized components. 2. They use supernodes to improve efficiency and handle complex tasks. 3. Hybrid networks aim to balance decentralization with performance and scalability. 4. While offering many benefits, they also come with challenges like increased complexity and potential security risks. 5. Real-world examples include the original Skype network and Napster.
Excellent summary, Sheila. I hope our listeners found this deep dive into hybrid networks informative and engaging.
Thank you, Victor, and thank you to all our listeners. If you enjoyed this episode, please visit crashcasts.com and consider joining our Discord community. Your support on Patreon helps us keep creating this content. Don't forget to subscribe and rate our podcast. It really helps us out. Until next time, happy coding.